and Trekkers, welcome to this amazing Star Trek podcast on Trek Tuesday. I'm your host Dorinda, and together with my lovely co-host Amanda Hopper, we recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek, starting with Star Trek TNG. All the episodes will be recapping chronologically following. We will approach each episode with humor and a venomous look. Today's recap is of the episode Hide and Q. So, welcome again, my lovely co-host Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hello.
So, today another Q episode.
Yeah.
What are we going to say about that?
I like the Q episodes. They're funny. Sure, he's a bit of a pain in the butt. Causes mischief across the galaxy because he's got some magic powers to screw with you.
Yeah, I must say, for me personally, it is one of the least favorite of the episodes, but that's me. So we're going to start with the Enterprise got an emergency call for 504 colonists on a planet nearby, and they encounter Q. And
Yeah.
Picard was really, well, he was a little bit dreadful by saying, "Oh, Q, not this time."
Yeah. He's like, Q basically looks at him and I think he said, Q, not this time. We're trying to go help some humans on a planet. And Q's like, ugh, your species always dying or getting hurt. It's like, Q has no empathy at times for the human race. Thinks we're just a bunch of...
But that's, I think it's also because that trial of Q is never over.
That's true. That's also going to be upcoming in the new series of Picard. He's going to be in it. And he says that to Jean-Luc. The trial has never ended, I think is what he said.
Q appears as a Starfleet admiral. And the first time I saw it, I was thinking, Q, you dork ass. You really need to be an admiral?
Yeah, he's being a bit of a jerk because he knows, what was it, Admiral? Yeah, he knows that Admiral's higher than the captain, basically. He's just doing that to make Picard mad. He's being an arse, basically.
Yeah, and Worf wanted to attack him, and there was a complete dialogue about the human species and how barbarian they are, etc., etc. And he calls Worf a macro head with micro brain.
Yeah, and Worf goes, growls at him.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, he's thinking, wish I could kick your butt right now, but I can't because the captain would not allow it, no matter how annoying you are.
Yeah, later in that was, I don't want to say confusing, but Picard and Riker had a conversation about Riker having the Q powers, and there was a whole discussion about, okay, if you're going to accept the Q powers, isn't it temptation for you to use it in situation and just grown accustomed and you like to have that power?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to have the Q power to do things, get things done faster? But of course, you'd be kind of alienated from your friends because of the Q power. It'd make people kind of scared of you, basically.
Yeah, well, we saw that with Riker as well, with the bridge crew at the moment. But let's go back to a little bit, back to the beginning. So Q said that he has some kind of a dreams, and he would like to talk about that with Picard. But Picard was very angry in a way to say, I have no time for it now. I want to first rescue those people. And Q was very, how can I say this? I don't want to say annoying, that's the wrong word, but it was really, I'm a god, so you have to listen to me, and when we're not going to go there, and he makes Picard angry, and Q mocks him as well. He said things that was very, really hurtful.
And didn't one of them also say that, hey Q, this is not a game? One of them said that to Q, and Q's like, games? I love games. And then, like, snapped his fingers and ended up on this planet.
Yeah, but Q is also very interested in Riker, and Picard found out that Q was very interested in Riker already at Farpoint.
He became, basically, he's obsessed with Riker, basically.
Yeah, and so he asked Riker's opinion about something, and Riker says, well, we don't have time for games. And Q lighted up, and he was saying, oh, let's play a game then. It's time for games. Time for a game of life and death.
And they ended up down on the planet. And who should be down there with them but Q as a general, a French general, or French, I think it was French general.
Marshal. Really nice. What's a marshal?
Marshal. I couldn't remember general or marshal. But it was a marshal, French marshal, from like the 1700s, I think. Underneath a tent, sitting there, having his drink, and offers Riker a drink, and Riker's like, what about my comrades? And he's like, oh, fine, whatever they want. And I assume Data had some kind of drink. I don't know what kind it was, but it could have been motor oil for all we know. And Worf's like, don't think so, buddy. And tips it down, and Q's like, rigid Klingon code. Dine not with thine enemies.
Yeah, that was really funny. By the way, that
and he growled.
Yeah, but you see, Worf really as a wild animal in this episode. He charges whenever he wants to and doesn't listen and whatever more.
Well, yeah, I think Klingons are normally like that when they're in the heat of battle or fights.
Well, Q was dressed in a Napoleon clothes in the time of, I thought about 1700, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, 1600, 1700, between that.
And, Riker is somewhat amused, but he's still careful because it's Q we're talking about, you know?
Well, yeah, you never know what Q could do to you. He could flick his fingers, you'd be halfway across the planet, or you could end up being, put onto a Borg ship or any other ship without your knowledge. That man's tricky.
Yeah, and you know, the Q is so super annoying, and Q is provoking them. And what you also see is that he was persistent to play that game, and he was explaining about some kind of a strategic game, but also like with surprises in it, good ones, bad ones. I can't remember what precisely he said, but there was a moment that Tasha stepped in and Q sending her to the penalty box.
Yeah, like hockey, you end up getting in the penalty box for doing something wrong. But Tasha technically didn't do anything wrong. She just approached him and said that what he's doing was wrong, and he didn't like that. He's like, about 10, 15 minutes in the penalty box type thing, basically. For something she didn't do.
And the penalty box is some kind of a fake Enterprise bridge, and also Picard is on that bridge.
Yeah.
But there was a catch of it being in the penalty box. Q tells them that if anyone goes also into the penalty box now, Tasha will end up disappearing in the nothingness. So Tasha was on the bridge now with Captain Picard, and she was very emotional.
Yeah, and And she was talking to Picard, and she's like very emotional about what's going on, and she's like, it's just not right, and whatever she was saying, I can't remember what she was saying, but she was very emotional about it. And who should show up but Q back up on the ship, or what the simile of the ship, and he's like, "Oh, Captain, fraternizing with lower ranking officers."
And then he put her out of the penalty box. Worf was scouting the area, and he stumbles on the French of an army camp, which was weird because those French soldiers were like other aliens.
Yeah, they didn't look human. They looked more like a mixture of human body, but with like I don't know if you want to think of it a pig or a warthog, but that's what it looked like. Head. Animal-like.
And then Q was on the bridge still, but he was in Picard's reading room, and Picard was there also, and then Q started to quote all those famous writers that
Shakespeare.
Yeah, and that was a good point. Picard smashed him back with Hamlet.
Yeah. I forget what the line was, but boy, did he smash back with a good line at him, a Hamlet line. I forget what it was, but if I could remember, it'd be perfect, but I don't remember it.
And that was a scene I really like. It was, you could see that Picard was really ready to fight.
Oh,
On
yeah.
an electoral level.
Yeah, like, they're both smart in their own ways. Like, Picard's smart and Q's smart, but Q's got godlike powers. Well, Picard, he's basically just a human that knows his Shakespeare, because, well, Patrick Stewart in real life has done Shakespeare on stage. Like, I forget one of the characters, I think it was a Shakespeare. Oberon, I think.
Macbeth. I think it was Macbeth.
Yeah, I think it was called Oberon. He was wearing like a loincloth and long hair.
Yeah, it's but it is really nice to see that they did something with his theater and Shakespearean background.
Yeah. And I know he did other. Oh, I remember one of the movies that got with him in it. It's called Hamlet. Him and David Tennant.
Oh yeah,
it's a good movie. I have that. He did that. He played
uncle. He also did a theater piece with the actor who called Booker in Discovery.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remembered in an interview he told her, well, there was one of a kind of strike in the theater, and all the writers of the piece deleted some scenes of him, and he really, really, really wanted to do that. But I can't remember his name, but Booker stood across him, and Picard of Patrick Stewart give him a look of, yo dude, you're not going to say anything, I'm going to say my lines. He really did. So that's, in one way, it's very funny that all those actors also know each other from the theater world. So we are back on the planet, and those French soldiers came walking to the bridge crew, and so those weapons of those French soldiers were like 17, 18, 9 rifles, like with gunpowder and the bullet in.
Like a ball.
Yeah, and then
ball.
And then the bridge crew was saying, okay, are our faces working? So I thought it was war first. And did you notice that the tactical officers who were down on the planet have those big Mark rifles? And like, I thought Geordi and Data and Riker had those small ones. That's still weird.
I think they did have smaller ones. The other ones had slightly bigger ones.
they came later official to permanently, in a way.
Maybe they're just transitioning over to the different ones before
Yeah,
anyone else
could
all
be.
got them. They were still using the smaller ones along with the bigger ones. Maybe that's when they were transitioning to bigger weapons.
So when they noticed that they could shoot those French soldiers, they did. And Data was standing somewhere, and Riker asked Data to analyze something. And when Data turned to him, Data's head was replaced with the head of Q.
Oh, Q.
And
Yeah. Whopperoonie.
so that was a weird scene, seeing him as Data. And then there were more French soldiers, and when they shoot this time, their guns were like phasers as well.
They definitely weren't musket balls and powder guns. They were definitely lasers with bayonets.
Then Q was provoking Riker. Riker, you can save all. Oh, yeah, that was also the time. Let me see in my notes. Not yet, but Worf will be killed, and then Wesley, because Wesley wanted to help Worf, and Q was provoking Riker. Riker, I can give you the power of Q, and you can save them. You can beam them back to the ship. So.
And at one point, I think at one point during that whole provoking, Riker's like, no, and he put up that giant force field between the creatures and them, and then he put the rest of the crew members back on the ship, but he stayed behind.
So when Q gave Riker the powers, Riker sent the bridge crew back to the Enterprise bridge, and then the whole shenanigan begins with Riker. We see before Riker sent them back that the Enterprise is coming to life. So that was also the point that Picard knew that the Q was interested in Riker. And Riker is still on the planet with Q, and Riker was laughing a little bit of hysterical because the whole situation, I guess. There's following a hard discussion between Q and Riker. And oh no. And then Q got the bridge crew, like he was sending Picard, Wesley, Tasha, Geordi, Worf, and Data to the same planet where Riker already was. And then first you see that Wesley was a little scared because he was saying, well, I was sitting in my classroom and now I'm here, so what the hell's going on?
Like 1 minute he's sitting in his classroom, next minute he's down there with the rest of them. And I'm sure his teacher was sure surprised that he went missing that quick.
Yeah, indeed.
His teacher's probably, what the hell? Where did Wesley go? I didn't hear him leave.
And that was also the point that Tasha and Worf, and all of them, for be exact, were and unarmed in the way of no phasers or to defend themselves.
Nope, they had no weaponry to defend themselves from what I like to describe as warthog / alien-like creatures wearing French suits, carrying bayonet phasers.
Then the French soldiers came walking up to them to charge them, and they are armed. So Worf ran up to them and tried to fight them, and they killed Worf in a way. They injured him, and Wesley ran over to Worf and tried to help him, and then he got a
bayonet.
Yeah, in him. So once again, Q was provoking Riker to use the Q power, and that was the point that Riker used the Q power and put that shield on around that those French soldiers.
Put the force field up between them.
Yeah.
The Q force field. It looks like a weird grid.
So when that happened, Riker also got the bridge crew back to the bridge, and Wesley and Worf were alive again. Picard was a little horrified, and Riker was, well, a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky of his new powers.
Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, I got the powers. I can use them.
But you would see also that people were scared of him now and very,
Oh yeah.
well, suspicious, and I don't want to say particularly scared, but more like they are, yeah.
More wary of him because he has these powers, and if they said the wrong thing to him, he could probably do something, they would think. Like, they're suspicious of him, they were wary of him, they're very cautious around him, basically, because he had these, like, godlike powers that Q gave him.
Yeah, so Picard asked Riker to talk with him in his ready room, and I don't know if you have noticed, but this was the first time Riker didn't do his chair thingy.
I didn't really pay attention to that. I thought he did do it. Huh.
Nope.
Yeah, and then he proceeded to not say Captain Picard. He called him by his first name too, Jean-Luc. He didn't say Captain Picard. I want to speak to you in your room when you're ready. No, he said Jean-Luc.
Yeah, that was also one thing that was very noticeable, and
Q doing that.
Yeah, and I thought that was already a change in Riker, and eventually they arrived at the planet, and the away team, rescue team, went down to rescue those people on the ground, and piece was is that Geordi found a little child under stones, under the rubble.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
And Data came out right away to put all those rubble away, and you saw Riker looking a little bit jealous because he had promised Captain Picard not to use the Q power.
Yeah, and Beverly scanned the little girl, and said, "Oh, she's dead." And Data's like, "What about you, sir? You have the Q power. Couldn't you bring her back to life?" He's like, "I'm sorry. I promised someone I wouldn't use the power." He promised Picard basically that he wouldn't use his powers while down on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see in Data's eyes, even though being an android, and Beverly's, you can see the emotion in Data's eyes. You can tell he showed some human emotion because it's Brent, basically. Even though he's an android, he's actually a human in real life. But still.
Mm-hmm. That's what I really liked about when, and that's just a little bit later in the episode, is when Riker is going to bridge crew, giving them a gift, what they really want, and he wants to make Data human, and Data declined it right away and said, "I'd be rather an android with those experience than being human and miss out a lot. It's a privilege to be a
basically Data wants to get to being human-like in his own way and in his own time. He doesn't want to get there right away.
Yeah, you really could see that Riker wasn't himself, and he was really acting like a Q.
Oh yeah, smug and a bit arrogant, and basically smug and arrogant with power, like he was godlike.
There was another discussion between Picard and Riker, and he demanded of Picard that he had a talk with the bridge crew, and they were on the bridge, and there was a whole discussion and conversation that I was thinking, Riker, normally you wouldn't dare to act like that to Picard.
But he was so hopped up on like Q powers, basically, that he was acting all snarky and arrogant and high of himself because he was just basically hopped up with the powers of the Q.
Beverly and Wesley joined on the bridge as well, and Riker doesn't want him at this bridge meeting, but Wesley, and I had to giggle at that when, because Wesley was reminding Riker himself, well, sir, with all due respect, I am a bridge officer, you make me an acting ensign.
He's like, okay, fine, you can stay. So him and his mom sit off to that little side seat there next to the chairs. Oh, and Riker's like, let me read your minds, friends, what you want. And I think Geordi was the first one.
Let me see. Now first, Q came appear again, and he persuaded Riker to use the Q power, and Q was dressed like a monk. And the first time I saw that, I was thinking, yo, dude, you don't even are holy like that.
Like, he has all these elaborate costumes just to annoy them when he's in costume. But the monk one was like, really? A monk?
Q talks about affection, and he says, well, why don't you give everyone a gift what they really, really want? And I think it was Q who also called it flim flam. And
flim flam, man.
So that was a very, very word that was new, but also everyone would say, what does flim flam means, you know?
Yeah, basically a con artist, I guess you could say.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So, Beverly walks to Wesley and said, you need to leave right now. I don't want you to be here right now. And at that point I hated Riker, because Riker was saying, oh, well, let the boy stay. I know him the best, and I know what he wants. He is the best of all of them that I know. And he made Wesley 10 years older, because that was always Wesley's complaint, that nobody took him serious because he was super young.
Yeah, like, how old do you think he was before he, like, when he came bridge? Like, a teenager, I know that. So, 14, 15 years old, they made him an acting ensign, I think?
Yeah, so when Riker changed him, he would be about, I think, mid-20s.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Mid-20s. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, like he went from a teenager to full-grown adult.
Yeah, and so they were very, in a way, surprised. But you know, before that, everyone declined already, but Picard said, no, try to please them, try to give them the gifts, because he knew that Riker would fail.
Because he kind of knew everybody would decline his gifts after what he showed them, what they were missing.
First Riker did Wesley, then was Data's turn, and he wanted to turn Data into human, and Data declined it immediately. Yeah. Thank God. No, Data make a real great comment on it too, of like, I like to be rather be an android and work in progress to understand human than being a human and can't afford those experiences.
Yeah, like he'd rather experience the life of a human, getting there on his own terms, basically what he's trying to say to Q, or Riker, as Q Riker, I guess you can call him. He's like, no, I decline this. I'd rather try to get to being a human my own way.
And then LaForge was his turn, so Riker makes Geordi LaForge see again, and That was so sweet. When he saw Tasha, he told her, "Oh,
Yeah,
you're so beautiful,
most
and you
beautiful
were
thing
more."
you've ever seen.
Yeah, and he declined as well. And then Riker was so overhead over himself, and then he said, "Oh, Worf, the fierce
Mighty
warrior,
Klingon.
mighty warrior Klingon, yeah," and he gave Worf a Klingon warrior wife.
And
That
she was dressed in like this lingerie outfit with some metal on her shoulders, I think. And apparently, when they're in love, they beat the snot out of each other. That's
well,
Klingon way of having sex, basically. Beat the crap out of each other.
yeah, and that was also very funny that moment because
Yeah.
that was the first time we actually see what mating is for
Mm.
Klingons. And
And Yar.
Jordy was saying, "Worf, is this really mean sex for you?" And Worf was growling and said, "This is sex."
Oh, jeez. And plus Yar, she was behind Worf, looking at Worf, and oh, that woman took real offense to Yar being next to him. Like she's like, "Honey, this is my man, not yours." It kind of
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of high school students or a bunch of Karens who see a man too close to, or a woman too close to their man. They think they should have him. They're like, he's mine. And she tried to get towards Yar, and Worf's like, you ain't getting near her. You're not gonna hurt her. And he proceeds to just literally flip her over the bridge, which apparently turned her on because she started crawling on her hands and knees to him, puts her hand out towards him, and Worf yells, "No, I have left this past behind me." Basically, is what he's saying.
Worf ended up declining it as well, and then Wesley walked up to Riker and said, "Sir, this is too soon for me. Change me back." And Riker was really feeling the hot on him of what is happening, and you could see Bethany was so proud of Wesley, and
Oh yeah, she was super proud of him for turning it down.
then Riker turned to Picard and he said, "You know this would happen, didn't you? I feel like an idiot." And Picard, "Yeah, you should feel like an idiot."
Yeah, it was like, yeah, that's true. Riker even knew that Picard knew he would, everybody would reject his offers and make him look like the biggest moron on the deck for being drawn into the whole Q thing and being lured into the Q thing or Q powers thing. Make him look like Picard's like, "Yep, you're basically nuts when you were doing this." And I knew you'd not win, basically thing.
Yeah, and you could see that this is what Picard meant with you're going to get used to and want that Q power all the time and using it like for your own entertainment, like Q really doing it.
Oh yeah, Q just uses his powers just to entertain himself throughout the galaxy, causing mayhem, mischief, and annoyance and heartache. Like he's just frigging with people. That guy.
Yeah, and then Picard had a stern talk with Q, and Q wanted to rectify himself with by saying, "Well, I can do this, I can do that, and it is no harm is done, and blah 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 blah." I have never heard Picard that stern talk to anyone, and maybe he did that because, in one way, Q is like a equal partner to spar with him.
Yeah, and Picard at one point says, "Your bet was that you'd leave us alone if Riker did not fall for your charms and powers," which he didn't fall. So Q basically lost the bet, and apparently the Continuum was listening in. He's like, "No, no," and he was dragged away. Apparently, I guess.
Yeah, he disappeared, and I think the Q continuum was indeed listening with it, what was going on, but that was you guys are going to see that in later episodes, because Q would come back and Q would kicked out on the Q continuum, and he is becoming a human, and he had to earn his, well, quote, living on the Enterprise. And there was, sorry guys, I'm going to maybe spoil something now, but there was a moment on the bridge, and he was using his brains to help, I think that was Geordi, Data, and Wesley on the engineering. And he was babbling out, but he had pain in his back. So
oh gosh, yes.
He was kicking and screaming and crying, and he said, "Oh, my back, my back, my back!" And he was calling for Beverly. And Beverly said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with you." And she said, "I just have to massage this." As he massaged his back, and he was super paid as he enjoyed that.
I think Bev enjoyed the pain that he had because she could just basically torture him like he tortured them.
Well, I think everyone in the engineering room was laughing, because when is the time that you actually can give Q a payback?
Yeah, massaging the sore spot on his back, but not gently. Pushing down nice and hard, just to give him some pain.
Yeah, so he can experience what it is to be like a human. And
yeah, especially with a bad back.
Yeah, and do you remember that episode also from Voyager when Q sent his son, Junior, to Catherine, and they also took his Q powers away, and he needed to earn his living on the Voyager, and that was the same kind of thing. And
was he played by Andy Dick?
Sorry?
Was he played by Andy Dick, the son?
No, you don't know this. Oh my God, Mandy, I thought you knew this. Look, the Junior Q is the real son of John Delancey.
Oh, I didn't know that. I gotta rewatch these episodes more again. I'm working my way through Next Generation first.
And yeah, the female Q is of course Susie Plaxton, who also played the Andorian guard general, is it believed, and also she also played Worf's mate.
Oh.
And she also played I thought it was the Vulcan scientist. But
jeez, that's multiple characters.
Yeah, she did a lot in Star Trek. But you guys, I don't know if I have told you this, but I have met Susie Plaxton, and on Destination Star Trek 2 years ago, and we had a little chat, and I told her, "Well, you're the most beautiful Klingon woman on Star Trek," and she was laughing, and Denise Crosby was sitting next to her, and Marina Sirtis as well, and they were listening into the conversation we had. And so Susan said to me, "Well, girl, I didn't have to use my teeth." And Tasha, I mean, Denise Crosby and Marina was laughing about that because they knew full well what was going on. So that's one thing I always will remember. And she is so nice. She's and Denise Crosby and Marina as well. They were really, really nice. So there's only one thing what's still happy speaking of in the episode, and is the crew is very interested and intrigued by how the Q continuum controlling time. And I think if we we have seen it with the Traveler, but the Q is something very a different part of time, I guess, and I think they put this in like maybe in similar as in time traveling.
Yeah, it kind of is almost like time traveling, minus a ship, basically. They can travel through the air and space, and they can travel through, basically almost travel through time.
Yeah.
And they don't need like a time ship like the Doctor in Doctor Who does. He don't need no TARDIS.
No, and in one way that is very interesting, and I think a lot of people are curious about that, because who can travel without a spaceship or a time travel ship to travel in time?
Yeah, because in like a future episode, he takes Picard and Vash, I think her name is, to Robin Hood Sherwood Forest. Okay, yeah, because and then he takes some of the people from his ship and makes them into Sherwood characters. Like Data will be Friar Tuck with part of his head being bald. Sheriff, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw this, but I want to tell you guys that I have been asked to become a writer for a new Star Trek website, and my last article went online yesterday or today, but I asked a question on Twitter. So, and sorry guys, this is going to be spoiling for you, but I asked the question, well, now Q's back in Star Trek Picard Season 2. Will he change Picard back into a human? Because just for his own entertainment, and you know how. And I have a lot of reaction on that, and I wrote an article about it, and I still got a lot of reaction on that. So it's very I don't want to say provoking, but it is like, okay guys, spill your guts and tell me what you think about it. You can read this article on the Facebook group, not mine, but from actually the website called warpfactortrek.com. They also have a Facebook group, and I write for them, so it's very nice to, and there are some other writers too who also, especially for this month, there are a lot of anniversaries this month, like Trouble with Tribbles, Nemesis, what was the other one? I think something about the TOS movie, or I can't remember what, but there were a lot of new articles about that, so maybe you guys like to take a look on that. I will put the link in the description of this episode, so have a look, and yeah, who knows else. There's one thing we still need to do, Amanda, and that is rating this episode. So what rating do you give?
Well, first I want to say, before we give our rating, we gotta say some. What would you guys do? Put in the comments. If you had the power of the Q, what would you do?
Interesting question, yeah.
What would you do? Put it in the comments below.
That's a good one of you, yeah. So we really would like to know what you guys think about it, and yeah, what would you do with the Q powers? And
oh boy,
I think
my car.
Hey, Amanda, don't fix it. Just magical. Give yourself a flying car with all the futuristic things on it, and you'd have never have to fix your car again.
Yeah, that Ford Escape's still sitting in the garage. It'd be nice if I could put powers to it and make it work better. Right now I'm driving the Buick LeSabre. It's a 2005.
Hey, maybe you should write to exhibit of Pimp My Ride and ask if he will pimp your ride.
Oh, he'd have fun with that car. Oh boy. It's only a 2010 Ford Escape. It's like 11 years old. The Buick LeSabre is the same age as my dog. 16 years old, and it's perfectly pretty good now since we fixed the brakes on it the other day.
Okay. Okay. But I think there
All
will be a lot of interesting answers to that. I will put that on I will put that in the description as well, by the way. Oh, by the way, guys, this is the last episode of this year. So the next episode will be in the next year, and I hope you guys like what we are doing. I enjoy it. What about you, Amanda?
Oh, yeah. I definitely enjoy it. It's fun.
So, yeah, it's, we really will keep on doing this. And, yeah, tell us how we're doing. Because we're not going to get a lot of reaction on that, on how we do what we do. And, like I said, do you guys like to do have some other things in it, or do we have to change something? So also put that in the comments below.
Yeah, give us some ideas.
we can always learn from it. We can always make it better. And yeah, or talk with us about this episode. What I don't know if there are listeners that are rewatching it with us and would like to comment on it. That's very fine. I really like that if you do. You can do that on, like I said, always in on the Twitter. Oh no, that's you can do that on the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. Of course, we are also on Spotify, on Anchors, on a few different, also on Google Podcast, of course. I'm going to retell you everything what you already know, I guess, but okay. But yeah, give us some positive feedback or tell us what you think about the episodes.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We would love to hear some of your feedbacks from how we've been doing. And with this episode, what would you do if you had the Q powers? Put in the comments below.
So I will rate this episode like an 7.5 or an 8. It's not my favorite. It's not one of my favorites with Q in it.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Not one of my many favorites. So I'd probably give it around between 7 and 8. I would agree with you on there.
I think it was an episode that they would like to try out what they can do with Q, maybe. And also, of course, for the further episodes, the relationships between Q and Picard.
We know he'll get slightly annoying in future episodes with Picard and the crew.
Yeah, but I also mean with Q. I always say you like Q or you hate Q.
Yeah, he's like a half and half. You either like him or you don't.
Yeah, I think, and that's maybe personal for me, but Q and Picard had almost the same relationship as in between Odo and Quark.
Yeah, Quark and Odo, they kind of didn't like each other that well, but they got along at some points. Like,
yeah, that's when Odo was solid and he had to take Quark to, I think it was the court system somewhere, and they crashed on a planet, and this was the first time that Odo was to depend on Quark. And oh my god, that episode is so funny, and that was the episode that I am starting liking Quark, because I never liked Quark. He was super annoying like Q. Hey, they had the same initial. And
yeah, like Quark was always causing problems on DS9, or stealing this or stealing something like that to sell, or pulling scams with other businesses, like business traders.
Yeah, but that's Quark, Quark. But
Yeah.
at the end, and that was a while later, that they had a funny thing between each other when I thought they were annoying Dr. Bashir with it. And they had that look and interaction between them that you were saying, they are starting to become friends like now. And very in the end, you could see that, yeah, they like each other in their way, and they became some kind of friends. But yeah, I always compare that combination or connection between them and Picard and Q.
And Bashir, thinking of Bashir here, he will be on an episode in Next Generation. I forget which season, but it's closer towards the end. The last 2 seasons, I think. Well, Bashir shows up in a two-parter with, I think it's the first episode.
Yeah.
He's so interested in Data.
Yeah, that's right.
He's because, like, oh my god. Like he fanboys over Data in the episode.
Yeah, but also like himself, he is genetically.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Like he's like the augments on Discovery, or not Discovery, Enterprise episode. The 3 episodes that Brent Spiner was a guest star in Enterprise. Those 3 episodes with the augments.
Yeah. So we have still a lot to recap, but I think we both have fun doing it.
Oh yeah.
Let me see, and you guys will hear that, of course. In the end, the first episode in the new year will be Heaven.
Oh, Lexana Troy. So, yeah, Deanna Troy's mother shows up.
Mm-hmm.
God bless her. I love her.
First,
she was sassy.
In one way, in the first few seasons, I was annoyed by her, but all her acting. But after, and especially when she came on Deep Space Nine, I started really liking her. But she has good things.
Oh yeah, she can be pretty sassy at times. She could be very opinionated, and apparently she has the hots for Picard during the Next Generation. He has a crush on the poor guy, and he's like, okay. And Deanna and her mother, they're both Beta Z, so that it can read what they're thinking. And as the audience, they let us know what they're thinking by putting the voices up on the TV, so you basically can hear them, but no one else can on the ship. Unless there's another Beta Z living on the ship, which is not. It's just Deanna, but her mother shows up periodically.
Yeah,
so this is going to be a good episode.
Yeah, and Lwaxana was always wanted Diana to be married, and there's a whole damn thing of it. And there was a turning point in the episodes that it was turned out that it would be Lwaxana who would be marrying. And
yeah,
I remember there was that episode that she would be married and she wanted to do it all Beta Z customs, and that was also very funny.
Naked Beta Z with feathers.
But okay, yeah.
And her helper, Mr. Holmes, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Played by Carl Strickland. I think he was Lurch on the Addams Family. I think he was.
Yeah, and he is also he also had a thing for Lwaxana.
Oh yeah, you could tell just the way he acted around her. And then he kind of got drunk at the party, and during the episode of Haven, he was a bit drunk, and him and Data were looking at each other, and then he proceeds to look up at the sky drunk, and Data looks up so confused.
Didn't he also play Rock in TOS? in that episode
know.
that they found the fiance of Nurse Chapel, but apparently
Jeez, I don't know.
they
I don't remember.
they were androids
Well,
as
I know.
well.
Well, I know he was in a Stephen King movie too called Doctor Sleep. Yeah, he played Grandpa Flick or something like that. They were like millennium old age vampires but lived off energy. It's bizarre. It's on Netflix.
I think we covered it all. So
Yeah, we covered it a lot.
yeah, a little bit more than we expected to do, but okay. Sometimes it goes how it goes. Well, thank you for joining me again, Amanda. It was really nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, it was fun doing another episode. Can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah, and that will be in the next year. So I hope you guys. I think I can say this for Amanda as well. We wish you a very happy new year. I take it easy, guys, and we hope to see you again in the next year.
Yeah, I hope to hear from you guys too in the new year there when we start up again with the next episode, Haven or Heaven, Haven.
So live long and prosper, guys.
Live long and prosper too, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have fun. Not too much fun, but have fun.
Dear listeners, thank you for listening and join us in 2 weeks for a new episode recap. In the next episode we will recap the episode Haven. This will be the first episode in the new year. Girls Talking Track is also to listen, follow and subscribe on Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. If you'd like to comment on the episode or talk with us about the Star Trek episode we just recapped, you can reach out on the Facebook group and the YouTube channel of Girls Talking Track. We will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper.